home since I was 13, but the house is completely furnished as a home of about the 1890s would have been a British upper middle class home. So a professional man with a reasonably good income. So the butler or the parlourmaid would open the door when you arrived, and you'd give them the card so that they knew the correct name to announce. Or if you were well known to the servants, you wouldn't have to give them your card when you arrived. On your way out, you would leave your card on the tray, just to remind the lady of the house that you had paid a call and you expected a call in return. If you didn't visit people regularly, you'd very quickly be dropped from society. Often printed on her visiting card. So if it said Wednesday, then you knew on Wednesday afternoons between 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock she would be at home, so anybody who wanted to call at that time could come. But on that day, you shouldn't stay longer than 15 or 20 minutes. It wasn't a pleasure visit, it was a duty call. If you didn't show your face regularly, you'd very quickly be dropped from society. So you'd just be given a quick cup of tea, usually those very shallow cups that people don't like these days. They say the tea gets cold too quickly. Well, that was the whole idea. So you can drink and go. This is the drawing room where they would have entertained their visitors, that we would call the lounge these days. Some in Johannesburg, but the exact same style everywhere. They thought it was in very bad taste to see an empty space anywhere. So the rooms were very full of furniture, full of ornaments and pictures and clutter everywhere. No minimalism in those days. Chinese jardiniere and a Chinese table, things from India and the Middle East were all very popular. Because the ladies of the house would use this as their living room without having to lift the heavy kettle, so that the lady could make the tea in front of her visitors in the drawing room.
So,
yes, sending servants to the colonies, so they used to come out on a contract, a 1 or 2 year contract. Yes, it's an organ from the 1880s. Official.
Does any significance of using a candle and
they believed that that was more flattering to a lady's complexion. So even after they had electricity, dream of coming into the dining room without changing into evening dress every night. The butler would ring the gong half an hour before dinner. That was the dressing bell when everyone went to change, and then it was rung again to announce dinner is served.
So I assume
that was the sort of dress a lady would have worn in the 1880s, a dinner dress of that period. That is when the bustle was in fashion. So if you look at her from the side, you'll see she's got a big bottom.
Yes.
The bustle went through periods of being small and big and small and big. When it was at its largest, you could actually stand a tea tray on the bustle. They could be very
okay, the bottom is actually like a station.
Yes, we used to use it long ago.
and there's also the cook's canteen.
Yes, it tells you how long to cook different foods. That big book there is Mrs. Newton's Book of Household Management. That tells you everything you need to know about cooking and running a house. But people think of her as this wise old woman, all the new methods. The blue and white china in the kitchen would just have been for servants' use. It was too cheap to use in the dining room.
What else lace in here?
Oh, it's a herb soup. It's good for chopping parsley and things like that, but some people even use it for chopping meat. Pour the wine into decanters, and maybe the best china and glass would be kept in the butler's pan. Had the library, and very often the men used the library as a smoking room. But first he'd put on a velvet smoking jacket and his smoking cap, The smoking clothes were all made of velvet and wool so that they would absorb the smoke. Then when he'd finished smoking, he could take off these clothes and leave them in the smoking room, and he wouldn't smell like smoke when he went back to the rest of the house. This is his moustache cup for a man with a big moustache to drink his tea without getting his moustache wet. Smoking, and he met a lady that he knew, he could just take his hat off to her and carry on walking, but if he wanted to stop and speak to her, he had to throw his cigarette away. And by that time they were getting tired of the dark colours of the big heavy furniture, so there was a swing back to lighter things again.
Can you please
Yes.
Are these books since this house was built, or they coming with also from other generations? And
Oh, well, of course, everything in this house has been collected by my family, nothing to do with any of the previous owners. The oldest book is 1749. This house was only built in 1910, so it is actually an Edwardian house, but furnished far more in Victorian style.
Thank you.
Yes, that's a typical Edwardian dress from 1904. To pull in a lady's waist, the ideal size for a lady's waist was 17 inches, which meant that a man's hands could meet around a woman's waist. Down like that. It was much longer, and it had a piece of steel in front that forced you into a leaning forward position. They wanted an S-bend, a curve at front and a curve at the back. So if you look at her from the side, you'll see she's got that S-bend. So it was torture.
They actually do surgery now to look like this. So.
Square pianos have the strings running across that way, with the grand piano they go that way. Or half an hour a day, usually between 5 and 6 o'clock in the afternoon, their nanny would bring them to the drawing room, and they'd have to be very good until they were taken back to the nursery. So this goes to their side of the house, but the first room is the Natural History Museum. Lots of homes have their own museum where they put all the things they'd collected, so it would be educational for the children. These are national costumes of Hungary, Holland. That's a stereoscope. It makes things 3D. You can look in there.
That's cool. I want to check. Can my camera see it? Oh, here. Yes.
These children are spoiled. They've got all their toys out at once. Very often their nanny would keep the toys locked in a cupboard, and they'd only be allowed one toy at a time.
This is what I try to with my kid, but doesn't work for too long.
And the doll's house was also educational.
It's beautiful.
Girls learned how to run a home of their own one day.
If my daughter would see this.
Anything
Oh,
in
wow.
nature that a real house would need.
It's amazing.
Oh, this is stunning door.
Can you imagine they still look so awesome? However, children, they wouldn't break anything.
Well, in those days, children knew they'd be punished if they broke any of their toys. They were taught to play carefully. The youngest children wouldn't be allowed anywhere near this. It was only when a girl got to a responsible age that she'd be allowed. this is grandmother's bedroom.
Okay.
She's a widow, she lives with a family, but she's got an Elizabethan revival bed. The original beds like that were made in the 1500s, at the time of Shakespeare, but the Victorians made copies of all the earlier styles of furniture, and beds were so high you even needed steps to get into bed, and if you needed the toilet in the night, you just pull that forward and there you've got your commode.
In a nutshell.
Oh, sorry. This is the bathroom.
So he would be dressed in the dressing room, while his wife got dressed in the bedroom, and there would also be a bed in the dressing room, so that if one of them was sick, or if they had a fight, or if he snored, he could sleep in his dressing room. So that's the dressing room.
I think we do need this even in modern day now.